Padashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param. Om Om Shwara Om Shanti 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 Om. Okay, so 13th chapter of the Gita, verse 28. He who sees the Supreme Lord who dwells alike in all beings, and who sees sees the Lord as imperishable, is the one with the correct vision. Okay, here we talk about the Lord. We are not talking about the self just like that. We are talking about the Supreme Lord. And how are we going to see this Supreme Lord? This is a very subtle subject because the Lord is not an object that can be accessed, such as seen by the eyes or touched by the skin and so on. But yet, some people develop somehow a mind, a kind of a mind or a body mind that access the Lord. It has a sensitivity, purity, or finesse, or refinement that people they can sense the presence of the Supreme Lord. How to explain it to people? It's very difficult, but I don't know what to say anymore about that. Some people see, some people do not see. Some people think that we are seeing a ghost because there is no God, there is no Lord. They never consider the possibility that they don't have the proper refinement to quote unquote see the Supreme Lord. So we need to come to a point in our human nature, conditioned by so much ignorance, that we begin seeing the Lord, the Supreme Lord, behind all name, colors, and forms. It's very difficult to see the Lord because somehow we don't have the instrument to see. All instruments are going to see the Prakriti of Maya, the Namarupas, but they're never going to see the substratum, which is consciousness, which is existence, which is the Supreme God. So not having a proper instrument, it becomes very difficult and rare. People who develop the ability, the sensitivity to see the Supreme Lord.
Orlando, I was very grateful when I assimilated what you often refer to the cosmic intelligence. And that's what I see, that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Easier for me than to think about the Supreme Lord.
Yeah, there is this supreme intelligence, this cosmic universal intelligence that holds it all together. And for us, we are more intellectuals. We can understand that quite easily now. But from the religious angle, we get to see the Lord by feeling the Lord. You understand? By feeling the Lord. This is the other side, and that's where the element of devotion comes in. See the beauty of the Lord expressed in all forms, in every configuration within this apparent reality. So you see the Lord. It's a feeling, a sensation. This brings again and again us back to devotion. Devotion is a very sublime emotion. We cannot live without emotional body. I mean, some of us have our emotional body very, very suppressed. But generally, we have a certain ability to feel to sentiments and emotions are available to all human beings on different degrees. And we find that emotional center, so to speak, within the subtle body, we find it so that we have beautiful emotions, right, rather than the emotion of jealousy, irritation, regret, revenge, and, all these human emotions. Human beings, they are moved by human emotions, and the instrument has to be refined to an extent that all those emotions, they are being converted into love, appreciation, in other words, devotion to the Lord, because everything is Brahman. Yeah. So the experiential fruits of from the religion side is love. Because there is nothing better than to experience love. And love is anything is Brahman, everything is the Lord, the Supreme Lord. We begin seeing it, understanding it intellectually from different angles, including as the cosmic intelligence that designed and sustains the universe. It's an important understanding, and that allows us to access God in an emotional way so that we start converting human emotions into devotion. It's a life project, many lifetimes project. We are human beings. We have so much ragged vessels and human emotions and so on. It's we are all growing. If you see someone sitting on a chair and teaching Vedanta, teaching whatsoever spirituality, not putting himself or herself within the same boat, saying like, we are all in the same boat here. We are here because we want to refine and purify and bring up our divinity against all odds, against our animal nature, human nature, moved by emotions. All of them, they are based on ragged vessel, what I want to gain and what I want to avoid, and the emotion, they are all around this. And now you start just going and living from a different perspective. So we are all in the same boat, fundamentally. It's quite a project.
Yeah, I think also that's why the guru is someone who's gone on that path, and reached the destination. So I know that, you tell us stories about how, where you were, the life you had, and then having reached the destination. It's so complicated trying to get out of here, off this merry-go-round. So many different things.
What I'm trying to say here is that there was a time when I got in contact with Vedanta, and then the concept of guru became more like a teaching guru and so on, or guru. And nowadays, guru and the computer guru and this and that. Guru is somebody. Guru is someone from whom you can learn something that you may need to learn. You understand? So, in the case of a spiritual guru, the real guru is the one teaching the sacred scriptures, let's say. But what I was trying to say is that somehow, even after self-recognition, the guru yet is a work in progress. You understand? So self-recognition is still part of something. I know, because once you know your job is done. So I lately I never really bought much into that. Yeah. And lately I just see like so there are still impurity, there are these and that. You just realize what you are. Yeah, but still one thing is you to know, which is quite an accomplishment, let's say. Um, that clear the mind and makes more sattva guna available to the person, and the process becomes more clear, huh? And more dynamic and so on. But you see, it's still a work in progress. I can tell. Uh, I can tell, and it's a fact for all one. If we take it from there, we don't get into any confusion later on to see, oh, look how that guru is behaving nowadays, I had one, my first Vedanta guru would behave sometimes in such a way that would make me confused. And so you say, yeah. So and my first guru used to say, all gods have foot of clay. You remember? Yeah, because we have prakriti within us, conditioning our minds and so on. Yeah? So it's beautiful. It's important to acknowledge the role of the guru, but it's also important to understand the ultimate guru is the Lord, is Ishvara, revealing this knowledge to all of us, and then getting someone as a link, someone who has a deeper and better understanding of the scriptures, because it has been living it, experiencing this knowledge in his life and her life. And then these individuals, they are there to help others. But the ultimate guru is the Supreme Lord. We're going to look into the benefit of self-knowledge, which is more or less along the lines of what this introduction is saying. It usually is called Yanapalam. So we have two kinds of palam results. We have karma palams, which are results of good actions we do, sattvic, dharmic actions, and then we reap some karma palams. The karma may be good or bad, sukhan or dukhan, favorable or unfavorable. But when we come to Vedanta, we hear that there is a different kind of palam. This kind of palam is Yanapalam. Yanapalam is a result of a process by which you try to understand the nature of the Supreme Lord, or the nature of the Supreme Self, universal Self. And that is gained by knowledge. And the result is Yanapalam, according to our scriptures, and it's easy to understand. It's a result of something gained through a process of reflection, contemplation, assimilation, application of this knowledge, staying with it until we begin, how you say, enjoying the perfume of the rose. Now finally enough, you start enjoying it. The life becomes more and more joyful. And so Yanapalan is a fact, but this Yanapalan is only a good palam if it has the fragrance of love to it. I'm saying this because it relates to 99% of the people who got, or more, I'm just speculating, that got in contact with the Upanishads and studied all the Dharma Sutras and everything, and they have everything in here, so to speak, but somehow they were not transformed, as Swamiji often says. So the transformation must be there. The transformation is in the being, in the life of the person. It's not just here, Yanapala, as accumulation of intellectual knowledge, is a platform, is a base. But from there, as Swamiji says or puts, it's like, and then one's personality must be transformed in very simple words, So this Wanapala should be integral, should be, I have a result which is much more understanding of the world, of God, and myself, and the way I relate with to this world, and so on. So this is Palan, understanding. But understanding is a kind of a base, a window, from there, we may go into indirect self-knowledge to direct self-knowledge, because that is what brings about the emotional, devotional transformation as well. There is, Yanapala, it's very important to understand to get results as certainty of knowledge. And then we need to work to convert that intellectual knowledge into a sort of existential beingness or knowledge. Or just in simple words, like Swami put, it's emotional transformation of one's emotional personality. You understand that, Lynn? Emotional personality? Do we understand that?
I think I do. Right. When I see this cosmic intelligence, it can bring me to tears.
Mm.
You know, there's something along with it. It's not just the head. You know, it's knowing and loving. To me, there's not a lot of distance between.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well put. Nicely, beautiful. So Krishna enumerates several benefits of this self-knowledge. And the first one he's explained here is darshana. You start to be a vision of the Lord. Everything is Brahma. I start seeing everything as Brahma. I'm no longer deceived by the Namarupas, you know. I'm no longer deceived by, I like this Namarupa, I do not like this Namarupa. No, it's just everything is Brahman. It's quite a project, as I said. So the first benefit mentioned is Vatra Sama Darshana, seeing the Lord not with your physical eyes, but the eyes of wisdom, or the eye of wisdom. Okay? So again, what's the difference between knowledge and wisdom? I like this wisdom because it gives us a distinction from just knowledge, you know. So you have somehow the knowledge, and the knowledge becomes a wisdom. Wisdom is something that transforms not only what you know here, but the way you see the world, the way you see your instrument, body, mind, and so on. And then Jnana Kakshu, being aware of the changeless Atma, which is in and through all the changing Anatma world made of Prakriti, Maya world. You see the unchanging self, the unchanging Lord, the unchanging consciousness, body change, mind change, thoughts change. So now we go into one of those most important pointers, which is we need to try to understand and see and experience an element within our human experience that's not changing, whereas everything else is changing. Yeah? So there are some pointers there, you know, how to develop this vision, how to somehow to get in contact with the Supreme Lord. Look for that which does not change. This is also referred to as Chaitanya nature, the consciousness nature, that which is changeless. Just as there is one water, permanent water, in and through the changing permanent waves and bubbles in the ocean, so there are changing bodies and minds all over the place, superimposed on the substratum called changeless Atma. The wise person does not lose sight of this changingless thing. This is also, I see it as an overall expression of everything, but there is no, to my take, it's very rare, I would say, to have a person, a human being, who never lose sight of that. You understand? Because some emotional reactions are there, you know. And for a moment, the person, and Swami, even though sometimes he says things like this, in the next page, you may find him saying, yes, but it's natural because the person who has self-knowledge yet, it may lose and then recompose itself again and again. It just loses, but then it recovers very quickly. It has an emotional reaction, but then find its balance because knowledge comes back and say, huh, again, it's just Maya, again and again, deceiving me, make me take the changing world as real, taking my wife as a personal entity apart and different from myself, for example. Wives and husbands are very difficult challenges for us. I often say, tell Silvia, she's the greatest challenge of my life. Because before I was not in the position of sharing this knowledge, and then it's okay. She understood by now, listening to this, but there were moments that she was confused as well. Oh, you are young, now look how you are behaving now, how you are reacting to me, why you are so angry and nervous right now, it's something like that. And I'm not nervous, I'm not angry. Ah, okay, the body-mind complex are many, the water is one, the waves are many. What type of body-mind complex? Vinasya, which are subject to birth and death. Now, what is Vinasya to? Which is it?
I think it means unsteady,
Okay.
difficult, something like that, rough.
Okay, so everything in this physical world we see now, people, place, and trees, and animals, are kind of waves, waves we see in the ocean of consciousness. They appear and disappear exactly like the analogy of the waves appearing and disappearing within the ocean. So Namarupas, people and saints, appear and disappear, going back to the elements and then appearing again from the elements due to the power, the magical power of Maya. Physically, every one of us is different. Oh, I am a singular individual. There is no person like me, and I'm very proud to be singular. If the person who says that, somebody said that recently, somebody very close, someone very close to me, becoming very proud lately, singularity and so on. If the person would understand that should be a singular construct made out of Prakriti, not something to really be proud about, but to be one without a second, is something that you could be proud, but if you're proud, it means to say that you did not understand that you won without a second, in any case. But jivas, they take pride in anything. Because if you are a singular individual, mentally, intellectually, physically, energetically, and so on, it means to say that you are made up of Prakriti. Prakriti is an explosion, the Big Bang explosion of configuration, and they never repeat themselves. So one may feel like I'm unique, but there's nothing to be proud about being unique because it's the most ordinary. Every Prakriti configuration is unique. Like every flake of snow is different in unit. And but on the other hand, now if you can see the oneness in everything that appears to be unique, and distinguished, because anything that's made of Prakriti is perishable. If you are a construct, you are perishable. If you are a unique construct, you are perishable. So, but there is a principle which is Saman Parameshwara, no? Which is the substratum, the one supreme self, which is imperishable. We call it Satchit, consciousness, existence consciousness, the only reality. There are many names, also Parameshwara. And Parameshwara for us, Vedantin, is not a deity, but it is the Supreme Self, Supreme Lord. And then he says here, and the wise person is one who does not lose sight of the Lord while transacting. He says that's wise. And Swamiji, I'm believing that you are there. Yeah? You know why I say things like that? I have been close to some gurus who were teaching Vedanta Upanishad, such as my first Vedanta guru. I was close to him a little bit here and there, whenever possible. And I was close to Papaji, who was not teaching the scriptures, but he was he was a yogi, he was a mystic, and he was so deeply into samadhi, different stage of his life. And there was such a beauty about that human being. He was already relatively old when I met him. And yet, I have seen sometimes he being so pissed off and and humiliating someone because someone was coming close to him in satsang with vanity and arrogance. So I have seen things like that here and there, which is the human nature. And then you can hear people say, yes, but the Yanni, the wise person, does that as an act. My first guru in India during the 80s, I was confused as well because I would see some reaction there. It was so strong. And then it's easy for the guru, even my first guru like in India during the 80s, to say, no, I was not emotionally involved. I was doing that to teach you a lesson. So I don't know what to say, what to make of these things. So a wise person is the one who does not lose sight completely. Even at certain times, it loses sight momentaneously, let's say. At the level of conscious mind, I'm aware of the impermanent change in body and mind. The wise man or woman, it keeps, and when we live in a society such as India, it's easier because there are so many signs all the time. Everybody is, well, at least in Tiruvannamalai and Rishikesh, the two spiritual capitals, some people say, of the world or India. And there are many things, pointing to the Lord and reminding us of the Lord again and again. So even if you have to say good morning to someone, you just go like that, I see the God in you. Every expression all over the smells of the incense and the pictures, there is this constant culture supporting the vision of the Supreme Lord, within and without. But if we come to materialistic societies such as in the USA or Brazil, it's a little bit more difficult. In America, they say hi, hi, or they don't say anything. And in India, we say namaste. A reminder that the Lord is the same in me and in you. The divinity is in both of us. The divinity is everywhere. I salute the divinity in you, which is identical to the divinity in me. I respect the divinity in you, which is the same divinity in me, rather than go, I respect because you are multimillionaire. I respect because you are young and beautiful. I respect, because you drive big cars and have big homes all over. So people get respect for those things in societies, what is the worth of this man and that woman? I mean, it's so ridiculous. That's why I can only relate only with my chickens and my dog. They don't have this kind of ego. Human beings, they are always, looking down or looking up at somebody else. Isn't it, Mark? And then so I'm saying, so this is the divine thing, the permanent principle, the non-dual nature of the true self, always, never not present. I'm aware of this permanent principle, conscious existence. And then once I have this darshana, this vision that everything is Brahman, and I don't lose this vision, even if here and there, I may have a reaction which does not reflect this vision that everything is Brahman. We have to remember one thing: human beings, a human mind can only hold one thought at a time. Ranji used to explain this clearly in detail. Can only hold one thought at a time. Yeah, so consciously speaking, you are dealing, interacting with the world, transacting. And then things come up, likes and dislikes, irritation and pleasure and appreciation. And you cannot, it brings me back 20 years ago, more or less, when no, a little bit less than 20 years. When I was in the restaurant, self-recognition took place, and I was going to restaurant in the weekend that was very busy, and I was afraid to lose my vision. I am consciousness, everything is consciousness. That's how it came to me. I am consciousness, and everything is consciousness. And I was trying to hold on to I am consciousness, I'm consciousness, I'm consciousness, everything is conscious. And then I was holding that thought too much and I was making too many mistakes. I was bringing the wine to the wrong table, I'm being slow and so on. And then slowly I began to relax and I say, no, when I'm a waiter, when I'm bussing tables, when I'm serving wine, let me do that to the best possible manner, you know. And then I understood later on when I got in contact with Ranjit, because the knowledge when it's good, it's really assimilated. It's always good. I love this expression. Love is that which is always good. Knowledge, but knowledge of the self, which is self-evident, never not present, when you have that knowledge, and then it's always good. But your mind is going to engage in the world, is going to have human reactions. But then this knowledge, which is available to you in your subconscious mind, is always available to come up, human emotion, human reaction. Remember, there is only Brahman here. Take it easy, and remember the vision and so on. So that allowed me to go through those 3 hours, 4 hours, restaurant packed, Friday and Saturday night, and without even having to remember or making a discipline out of trying to remember that everything is consciousness. Who cares? And the knowledge is good now, and then somehow from the subconscious mind, the conscious mind relaxes and does not produce much emotional reactions as before, very much less, much less. You can make a horrible mistake, like taking 3 plates with you, and then something happened, everything drops and smashes on the floor. The restaurant is full, yet you react in a totally different, new, fresh way without feeling shame or anything like that, or despair. You may even have a good laughter for the customers, So we need to hold on to the vision of that which is permanent and eternal. If we try to keep a vision of the Prakriti things of Maya and then try to hold on to these things, we're going to be like a drowning man in the ocean trying to catch hold of some leaves or some straw. What is this straw here he talks about? Straw. For Coca-Cola?
Maybe just a piece of grass floating on the water. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
think he's talking about a sipping straw.
Yeah, most probably. I have been translated to some leaves,
Yeah.
So you have some leaves floating, and then it's not gonna do anything. It's not gonna help. You know, you hold on to things that are subject to birth and death, and that is going to leave you at the ends. Papaji used to say, hold on to anything that change, and it's gonna bite you at the end. Krishna says, Saman Samvasu Parameshwaram Atmanam. So one who does not lose sight of his Atma, he alone has got the vision, the right vision. He's called a seer, the ultimate seer. Wise man, wise woman. A sage is called a seer. We see many things. The sage sees many things exactly like us, but sees the substratum of everything. Nobody calls us a seer, a sage. Why? Because we are caught up with the superimposition and we don't see the substratum. We see all other things except the substratum, which is that which must be seen, but it's so invisible, so subtle. The mind has to become very subtle. So the one who sees that thing to be called, that substratum is to be called a true seer. Such a person is called a papan. Papan means the seer. Everyone should be able to see the substratum. To see the substratum. And it's so interesting. I'm just to illustrate this class. I mean, my son is a beautiful soul. He lives around gurus when he was a child, including several years in Lucknow around Papaji and so on. And somehow he's a good person, but materialistic now. He does not want to know anything about God or spirituality. He just wants to to get a bit richer and find stability and having the good things of the American dream and so on. His wife even more and so on. And it's interesting to see this nowadays from where I stand, because one thing that was intriguing me at the time of like now with Papaji, is that he had a son. Well, forgot the name of his son. Uh, his son was a little bit older than me, I believe, and he was total samsari. And I was thinking, but why Papaji does not force him to participate in the satsangs every day, you know? And he used to be before seeing the newcomers, helping them with accommodation and rentals and this and that, and then would go about doing his life. And I understood that he was more in samsara because I got to know him a little bit. And accepting this, like with in my case here, see, that's perfect, It's karma, someone has to go through this, you know. And I already made a mistake in the early age to try to force upon him spirituality by deprive him from formal education, scholar.
Still, Arlinda, the seeds have been sown. They'll germinate when the time is right and the conditions are right in his life.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Well said. Well said. So we are still seeing the unfoldment of the questions on the previous chapter 12 of Krishna asking elaboration on those terms, Prakriti, Purusha, Kshatranya, Yana, and Jnana. And we here still seeing a little bit of Prakriti and Purusha, or we moved on. Let's see. Uh, Krishna talked about the sadhanas, preparatory, yeah. But from now on, we moved into a different topic. We are looking at the sadhanas to get the understanding. So a sadhana that will allow us to see Purusha as the substratum of Prakriti. And then we're seeing some sadhanas, preparatory disciplines for developing this vision. And now we are going to be seeing more the fruits, the pollen of having gained this vision. We're seeing all the sadhanas beginning from Karma Yoga, Vipassana, Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. And the culmination is Atmayana. And we have seen this is Vedanta approach is that the reason for all our problems in samsara is error with regarding to our true nature identity. It's a self error regarding what I am. And this error, missing the proper identification, is due to a very deeply wired ignorance, meaning to say, my identity is the body-mind and the body-mind alone. We need to cancel this ignorance somehow. And otherwise, self-delusion, this misidentification will not go. Oh, but if I go into deep silence, it may go. It may go. One thing I have been exploring lately is the teachings of Ramana and the Sagadatta Maharaj, because around my first Vedanta guru, I developed a little bit of an arrogance towards my beloved gurus such as Ramana and the Nisargadatta, because they were not teaching Vedanta. I was becoming a fanatic without knowing. You understand? And now I look back in retrospective and I see, my vanity, my arrogance in judging. These beings, they are so high up there in terms of the spiritual elevation. Who am I to judge this? It's just residual ignorance, residual ahamkara, manifesting as a sense of, I'm the judge here. You don't teach the scriptures, and then you're not a good guru. Because the teaching of both of these gurus, it's not just a question of not applying knowledge to cancel ignorance, but it is applying knowledge the most direct way, by investigating the true nature of the aham, in a deep silence of the mind, deep silence, never falling for the experience of bliss, but stays up to the end, to whom this is happening, to whom this is the most direct path of self-inquiry. You understand? It does not use much of the logic elements that the Upanishad provides, but here and there, both of them saying that knowledge is important, understanding is important, but it's just a base. Fundamentally, what's going to liberate is going to be the dissolution of the ahamkara, and that comes through grace. And you have to keep inquiring to whom this is showing up, to whom this silence, to whom this and that, And knowledge. When we talk about knowledge in terms of Vedanta, we see this huge body of knowledge, knowledge around Kama Yoga, Dhamma Yoga, Upasana, and the nature of Sargunishwara, Nirgunishwara, and then this is a knowledge, but this is a tool. This is a tool, and we use this tool to convince the intellect that one's true nature is the Supreme Lord, is Satchitananda Brahman, is conscious existence. The intellect has to be convinced, especially if the person is intellectual, a person who has a lot of, intellectual inclination, motivation, to understand things. And then the intellect must be convinced, definitely, but that is a base. That is a base. That is indirect self-knowledge. When you want to go into direct self-knowledge, you have to go deep into meditation. And this meditation in our sampradaya we call nididhyasana. I have been touching this subject lately with my students in Brazil. And I may even lose some more students in Brazil because most people do not want to go there. I have discovered that a lot of people around Vedanta fell in another kind of delusion. What kind of delusion? That intellectual knowledge, self-knowledge is equal to moksha. It's not. And then you say, now that you have a good intellectual knowledge, you need to do deep meditation, nididhyasana, until you know for sure, until this knowledge is not knowledge about the self, but it's knowledge about what you really are. And now you got it in deep meditation, you got it. The understanding became clear, direct, and so on. So we have ignorance, and then we need to apply knowledge. The ignorance is based on the conscious mind and subconscious mind. What is the ignorance? I am the body, mind, sense complex. My conscious mind is all about that, and my subconscious mind, my causal body is all about that. So now I need to experience, I need to apply what? I need to apply knowledge of the scriptures so that I can offset or neutralize that ignorance which is all over the three bodies. I need to apply, and I cannot apply in my conscious mind. And then the conscious mind start leaking into the, subtle body, emotional body, and memory, and formation of samskaras and vasana. And then it's going to spread, growing roots in the causal body. And then what we have? We have ignorance, we applied knowledge. And this knowledge is spreading all over, and it's growing roots in the causal body. When we go into deep meditation, we are trying to spread the roots of this knowledge into our subconscious mind by making it a certainty, a full conviction, a full understanding, and the blessings of the Lord, the grace of the Lord are going to be fundamental for this. So when you ask, who am I? Or if you go into silence, any meditation of presence or producing silence or producing presence. So any one of those, if it stops at the experience of silence or presence, and then it's not really addressing the fundamental ignorance around body mind as me. It has to go beyond the nice sensation, which is a reflection in the mind, producing silence and peace, has to go beyond. So this is just something illumined by consciousness. And, what is the nature of this I? Is it the reflection or it's the consciousness? So we're going to be talking about the power and the benefit. This benefit Chris presents in different ways. In the verse 28, the power that he talks about is right perspective, the vision of the world. It's called a darshana, a new vision of the world, a proper vision. And this proper perspective is based on the teachings of the Upanishad, the teachings of the Vedas. The fundamental of this vision is that the entire universe is a mixture of Prakriti and Purusha. The material nature of this universe is born of Prakriti and Purusha. Therefore, the universe is always a mixture, every object of experience is a mixture of both. Analogy, parallel, every child has a mixture of both, father and mother. And our vision will be right vision, balanced vision, only if we're aware of both the Prakriti as well Purusha. This is very interesting because one could say like, no, the perfect vision is to have a vision that everything is only Purusha. There is no Amarupa, there is only Purusha, there is only Purusha. But he'd say, and our vision will be right vision if it's balanced. Why? Because we are not here to experience Nirvikalpa Samadhi and so that the world disappears. We are here to be free in spite of the world, not by canceling the world. So we have to have a balance. We see the world, but we see the Supreme Lord. We see Prakriti, but we see Purusha. So this is a right vision, balanced vision for anyone living in this world. A balance. But if we are too much concerned on the nature of Prakriti and karma and the search for security and pleasures and these. So if we are too much focused on the Prakriti nature of the world, we're going to lose sight of Purusha. And if we are too much focused on Purusha, we're going to lose sight of Prakriti, and this also represents a problem, if it really is a problem. Example, Ramana Maharaj, at the age of 16, had that kind of experience that we all know, went from the very, very south of India, went a little bit up to Tiruvannamalai, and find a cave and stay there. And he was so much into Purusha. He was living in profound union or communion with Purusha, and went to the extent of insects eating his legs. You heard this story, no? So it is a problem. It is, for most humans, but depending on where one is in one's spiritual process, that's not a process. That's not a problem. But for most of us, it's a problem. Why? Because we still have an ego and we still identify as the doer and the enjoyer. You understand? Ramana, when he went to that cave, he had lost already the sense of doership and enjoyership. He was beyond that. He was just like, okay, my life, my true nature is Purusha, everything, there is only the Lord, and I don't care for this mortal body. But anybody still identified with the mortal body is going to be trouble if he goes into too much meditation. And then in the end of the day, there is no money for this, no money for the rental, no money. And then karma kicks in. The wife is going to complain, and then a lot of trouble may come. We need to live in this world, especially as as householders, keeping a balance between both visions. Everything, the entire universe is a mixture of both. The only thing is the Prakriti part of a human being is physically acceptable because it's made of a tangible. Okay, Prakriti side of the universe is easily acceptable to all living beings because it's made out of the same material that constitute our physical body. So we are vibrating the same frequency with everything physical around us. So we have a Saguna body, and we are living in a Saguna Prakriti universe. No? It's Saguna, it's changing, it's not really real, it is not a source of sentience, but it's visible through our eyes and ears and the five senses. And Purusha is beautiful, but it's not accessible because it is Nirguna, Nirvikara, it's reality, it's the only source of sentience, but it's not visible to our Prakriti body-mind. And how am I going to get in contact with this Purusha nature behind the apparent Prakriti nature of the universe? How am I going to be in contact with this? I need to develop this vision, the eye of wisdom, of Vedic wisdom, so that I may begin appreciating the presence of Purusha through our understanding. Okay, we're going to appreciate through our understanding, but this appreciation must not be merely an intellectual appreciation, but it has to be also an emotional appreciation, as I have been trying to put lately. So from the standpoint of the intellect alone, as we look at the fan, I'm going to appreciate the fresh breeze coming from the fan. But I better learn to appreciate the electrical power no, without which the fan is not going to produce any breeze. So the electrical power is invisible. So such is the nature of Purusha, it's totally invisible. But if we see its effect, we must be able to develop intellectual appreciation and emotional appreciation. I am emotionally grateful for electrical power. And I am emotionally grateful as well for the fan, especially when the heat is too high, yeah? The breeze produced by the fan. In other words, I will appreciate the mixture of both. This is the balance, the visible and the invisible nature of this world. This is so beautifully put. Sometimes Swami presents simple examples, but it's so much to the point. You understand that I feel like, wow. It's also called the third eye, the eye of wisdom, the Vedic wisdom. Yana capsule, the vision, the Upanishad vision. Appreciation and understanding the visible Purusha in everything. It's not that the Lord Shiva has not only done the third eye. Okay. Very nice. Wonderful. So, are you coming to Florida tomorrow?
I would love to. You got a spare room?
No, I mean to say to our class.
Oh. Well, I will certainly be in class.
Okay, and then we have a Florida class tomorrow, Vedantic, same time. Okay? Namaste. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Om. Okay, lovely to meet you guys, as always.
Thank you
Good.
so much.
Meet tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks, Arlinda. See you tomorrow. Great class.
Bye bye. Thank you. Enjoy it as well. Ciao. Ciao,
Bye now.
ciao.